What is going on, everyone? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com. I got Cole Cubelic right here to my right side. He's with Jocks Radio, three-man front, as well as SEC Network. And we're going to go head-to-head talking a little Auburn, Mississippi State football. Auburn back at home this week after a big win over Texas A&M on the road, 28-20. All right, Cole, and we're going to start with Mississippi State, some factors on offense, and that starts at the quarterback position. Tommy Stevens or Garrett Schrader, who will be the starting quarterback from them? One thing that we saw last week against Kentucky, Schrader is not all that bad. He obviously has the ability to, get outside the pocket and make plays. He's a versatile athlete. I think the decision-making will be in question, especially when you go into Jordan-Hare Stadium, a place that even Moorhead hasn't even gone to yet. And really, this will be kind of their first true road test. So your thoughts on that quarterback situation and who really is going to give this Auburn team more fits, if you will?
Well, if it was Tommy Stevens, he would give them more problems. Tommy Stevens is an accurate downfield passer, and he's a guy that brings balance to your offense, and I think he makes you defend different things. I think the defense is able to focus in a little bit more on the run game with Garrett Schrader. But go back to last year with Nick Fitzgerald, and I think that offense was one-dimensional at that point in time, and they ran wild on this Auburn defense. So it's not as though they can't find space and they can't operate at all, but I do think they're a little more one-dimensional with Schrader in the game. He is a tough, physical guy. Not afraid to run into contact, not afraid to take contact, but the decision-making, like you mentioned, Laura, has been a little bit questionable at times. I think it allows Kevin Steele to turn some guys loose up front, maybe even play a little more high risk up front with a defensive line that was probably going to dominate anyway. Now, the problems that you get is Kylan Hill is dynamic. You have a few more pass catchers down the field, and this is an offensive line that has been inconsistent, but physically can match up with what Auburn's going to bring to the table. This Mississippi State offensive line won't get pushed around. They're not going to get bullied. Now, are they going to miss assignments? Are they going to miss blocks? Are there going to be miscommunications because they're playing on the road and playing at Jordan-Hare Stadium? That's all possible, but I think you have to be careful of quarterback runs. You have to be careful on keying in too much on one thing, and maybe that opens up a tight end to the backside, a reverse, or some type of a throwback trick play down the field that could get you in trouble.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 349 yards is what this Auburn defense gave up a year ago. Kylan Hill, you mentioned him. He's a dynamic threat. He's averaging 137.5 yards per game. Can this Auburn defense stop him? That'll be a big question in a matchup we're looking for. So on the other side of the football, what makes you feel good about this Auburn defense against this Mississippi State offense?
Derek Brown was dominant. Derek Brown was a problem inside for Texas A&M. The defensive line was dominant. They showed they're the best defensive line in college football, but it was tackling for me against Texas A&M. I went back and charted it. I counted 4, maybe 5 missed tackles. None of those went for explosive yards after the missed tackles. I mean, yes, there was one. Smoke Monday missed a tackle that goes in for a touchdown, but that's down on like the 5-yard line. There was no missed tackle and then an extra 80 yards on top of that, 50 yards on top of that. It was a missed tackle, 2-3 yards, 4-5 yards, and then somebody else was there to make the play. Almost every time an A&M receiver got the ball in their hands, they were immediately tackled. And Kellen Mond outside of the pocket was usually tackled as soon as he departed the pocket. So I think tackling is the big thing for this Auburn defense. That's the part that we didn't really know about, because where football is headed and how much you're allowed to have contact in practice leading into a season, you don't really know. But that defensive line dominated, and the team tackled extremely well. I think if they can bottle up Kylan Hill, that's going to solve a lot of their problems.
Okay, Cole, so now we switch to the offensive side of the football. This is week 4, obviously, for this Auburn football team. We now have 4 weeks worth of football to kind of break down film and sort of see what they're capable of, especially with their first true road game in College Station, obviously a hostile environment. They get to come back home to Jordan-Hare Stadium. As I said, this will be a first for some of these Mississippi State guys going on the road in a true road game environment that we know Jordan-Hare Stadium is a difficult one to play in. So how do you think this Auburn offense matches up against this Mississippi State defense?
Well, Mississippi State's defense will bring a physical front seven. Errol Thompson, I think, is the most underrated player in the league. Big, physical, downhill thumper of a linebacker. They still have a quality defensive line. Chauncey Rivers can get after the quarterback off the edge. They lost Sweat, they lost Simmons, but I still think that front seven can be extremely dangerous. Physically, I don't see Auburn getting a ton of push at the line of scrimmage. Now, didn't think they were going to do that against A&M, but they found ways to be creative in how they ran the football. Utilize space to be able to open things up for their playmakers. I thought the plan for Bo Nix last week was phenomenal. Protect him, give him some easy throws early, loosen up the defense, and then take calculated shots later in the game. with some sort of window dressing behind it so you couldn't really focus in on it. You carry a similar plan in there where you lack that stubborn mentality of just running certain plays into the same defense that aren't working. And I think Auburn has sort of found something offensively. The key that I thought last week I saw that could be a big advantage again for Auburn this week, it's how Bo Nix manages his fakes. Whether it's a play action, whether it's a zone read, a read option, he really manipulates that well and has just enough with his legs to make defenses pay if they don't defend it. That's going to be critical moving forward because when you force that defense to defend it, it's going to open things up for Boobie Whitlow and the other running backs and things going to the front side. But then on the backside, if you don't, Bo Nix can all of a sudden steal 6, 8, 12 yards at a pop. That puts your defense in a bind, and that helps keep you ahead of schedule offensively. I thought the Auburn offensive line had their best game of the season. I love the shots down the field, but I also love protecting your freshman quarterback. Don't make things too complicated. Give him 1-2 reads, let him leave the pocket, give him a lot of option plays that forces the defense to have a conflict defender, thus making you right a lot of the time.
Okay, we're going to go into our predictions this week, predicting Auburn to win this one. I'm going to go 31-17. I think Auburn will come out with the win. I think they'll come in with a great game plan. Of course, accuracy is still a little bit of a concern for Bo Nix, but he's getting it to his playmakers. They show they could run the ball, especially there in the fourth quarter with Boobie Whitlow. I like to see that they're spreading the ball out, getting it to their playmakers, so I got you 31-17.
I'm going to go 28-10 Auburn in this game. I think they focus in on Kylan Hill. They're going to be able to bottle him up. Again, I go back to the tackling. I like the perimeter tackling. The outside linebackers, the safeties, the corners. Kylan Hill is best when he bounces outside, and Auburn has been great tackling on the perimeter and in the lanes. I think they do that again this week, and that defense is dominant.